Several Democratic lawmakers are now calling for President Trump to be impeached and removed. Sources also tell ABC News members of the Trump cabinet have discussed invoking the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office. President Trump is in the White House this morning, reportedly becoming increasingly isolated as some staffers abandon him. Let's bring in senior editorial producer John Santucci for the latest inside President Trump's world. John, good morning. What is going on with the president and his closest allies inside the White House right now?
Diane, good morning to you. It is pretty quiet at 1600 this morning, and speaking to sources, some of whom have gone into the building, others who have...
Okay, so this is the moment everything changes. This is the moment where you realize that Trump's presidency is no longer just under pressure from outside forces, the courts, Congress, the media. This is the moment where Trump's own administration, the people he put in charge, the people he trusted most, are now actively working to remove him from office. And we're not talking about quiet conversations anymore. We're talking about leaked cabinet communications. We're talking about VP Vance, the man Trump picked to be his vice president, apparently securing 9 signatures from cabinet members to invoke the 25th Amendment and declare Trump unfit for office. That's not speculation. That's not rumor. That's apparently happening right now.
Are real. They are happening among some members of the cabinet and some Trump allies, and we've already seen a growing number of members of Congress, even some Republicans now saying this might be an avenue that needs to be explored.
And Santucci, on that note, I've heard from a lot of people, just anecdotally, just people asking me on Twitter and in person, what happens now? How does he govern for the next 2 weeks before Inauguration Day, given the events that happened? And I'm curious, because President Trump is now suspended from his social media, but this morning his aide, Dan Scavino, did tweet out a statement saying the president is committed to a, quote, orderly transition. What do you make of that?
On January 10th, 2026, leaked cabinet communications revealed that Vice President J.D. Vance and a majority of Trump's cabinet principals are privately discussing the nuclear option. They're discussing Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, which allows the vice president and a majority of cabinet members to declare the president unfit and remove him from office. And according to these leaked communications, Vance has apparently already secured 9 signatures from cabinet members. 9. That's more than the 8 that he needs to trigger the 25th Amendment process. That means he has the votes. That means if he wanted to move forward with this, he could do it right now. Think about what that means for a second. The Vice President of the United States, the man who's literally number 2 in the presidential succession, is apparently putting together a coalition to remove the sitting president. That's unprecedented. That's extraordinary. That's the kind of thing that happens in third world countries with unstable governments. That's not supposed to happen in the United States. That's not something that's supposed to occur in a functioning democracy. But here we are. Here it is. It's happening. The trigger for all of this is the Venezuela operation and the fallout from it, the raid that killed 12 civilians that Trump authorized without congressional approval that the UN condemned. That's the thing that pushed Vance and the cabinet over the edge. They could tolerate a lot of Trump's behavior and his rhetoric and his controversial policies. But when he authorized a military operation that killed innocent people without getting congressional approval, when he then claimed total victory, even though civilians died when he started firing people and rage posting, instead of taking responsibility for what happened, that was apparently the breaking point. And now we're looking
at el que nos aparece una última hora que nos va a marcar el día. Ya se lo aviso. Tanto New York Times como Washington Post apuntan hoy, ahora mismo, en portada, que Estados Unidos atacó un barco con aviones que parecían de uso civil. Es decir, con aviación civil. Lo ven ahí en los dos titulares, tanto Washington como el New York Times. El avión estadounidense utilizado en el ataque náutico fue diseñado para parecer un avión civil. Y dirán ustedes, pues esto, ¿y qué afecta? Bueno, pues la clave fundamental está en que las leyes de los conflictos armados prohíben a los combatientes fingir ser civiles para engañar a sus adversarios y que bajen estos la guardia y luego los ataquen y los maten. Eso es un crimen de guerra llamado, dice el New York Times, perfidia. El Pentágono habría utilizado un avión secreto, como les estaba diciendo, pintado para parecer un avión civil en su primer ataque a un barco que la administración Trump dijo que traficaba drogas en septiembre. mató a 11 personas. El avión también transportaba sus municiones dentro del fuselaje, en lugar de visiblemente bajo sus alas. La aparición no militar, como les digo, y lo señala New York Times y también el Washington Post, es significativa según especialistas legales, porque la administración ha argumentado que sus ataques letales con barcos son legales, no son asesinatos, porque el presidente Trump determinó que Estados Unidos está en un conflicto armado con cárteles de la droga, pero, como les decía, las leyes de los conflictos armados prohíben a los combatientes fingir ser civiles para engañarles, que bajen la guardia y matarles, atacarles y matarles. Ya les digo, esto es un crimen de guerra. El general de división retirado Stephen Leeper, ex juez adjunto del abogado general de la Fuerza Aérea de los Estados Unidos, dice que si la aeronave, le dice al New York Times, si la aeronave ha sido pintada de forma que ocultaba la naturaleza militar y se acercaba lo suficiente para que la gente en el barco la viera, engañándoles, para que no se dieran cuenta de que tenían que tomar medidas y pirarse de ahí, ¿no? Eso sería un crimen de guerra bajo los estándares del conflicto armado. Proteger tu identidad, dice al New York Times, es un elemento de perfidia. Si la aeronave que sobrevuela no es identificable como una aeronave combatiente, no debería estar involucrada en actividades combatientes. La aeronave, al parecer, se elevó lo suficientemente baja como para que las personas a bordo pudieran verla. El barco había regresado hacia Venezuela, aparentemente tras ver el avión antes del primer ataque, pero dos supervivientes del ataque inicial parecieron saludar al avión tras subir a un trozo volcado del casco, antes de que el ejército los matara, en un ataque posterior que también hundió a los otros restos. No está claro si los primeros supervivientes sabían que la explosión en la aeronave había sido causada, en su barco, perdón, había sido causada por un ataque con misiles. Desde entonces, el ejército ha cambiado y ha utilizado aviones reconocibles militarmente para atacar las embarcaciones, incluidos drones MQ-9 Reaper, aunque no está claro si esos aviones bajaron lo suficiente para ser vistos. El lío es importante, ya se lo aviso, ¿eh? Estados Unidos habría usado un avión camuflado como civil en el primer ataque a un barco, a una narcolancha, ¿no?, en Venezuela. Ojo, porque podría ser considerado crimen de guerra. Y le digo ojo porque estamos en un entorno donde se habla mucho del impeachment. Y quizá aquí tenemos el primer argumento clave alrededor de por dónde podría ir un impeachment contra Donald Trump. Los manuales militares estadounidenses sobre el derecho de guerra discuten extensamente sobre la perfidia, diciendo que incluye cuando un combatiente finge ser civil para que el adversario no tome precauciones que de otro modo serían necesarias. Un manual de la Marina de Estados Unidos, dice el New York Times, dice que los combatientes legales en el mar usan la fuerza ofensiva dentro de los límites del honor militar, especialmente siempre que no recurran a la perfidia. El lío es descomunal.
Patriots keep protesting, take over your institutions if possible, and save the name of the killers and the abusers that are abusing you. You're being very badly abused. If the numbers are right now, I hear 5 different sets of numbers. I hear numbers, look, 1 death is too much. But I hear much lower numbers, and then I hear much higher numbers. But I say save their names because they'll pay a very big price. And I've canceled all meetings with the Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. And all I say to them is help is on its way. You saw that I put tariffs on anybody doing business with Iran. Just went into effect today. And I say, make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over.
Bill Clinton, this morning wasn't just another legal update scrolling across your screen. Something shifted, and if you blinked, you might have missed why it matters. A 98-page federal indictment landed, a former president suddenly staring at the possibility of decades behind bars, and at almost the same moment the richest man in the world decided this was when he'd step directly into the middle of it. Those pieces didn't fall together by accident, and before any conclusions get drawn, it's worth slowing down and really looking at what actually happened. Federal prosecutors charged Donald Trump under RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's a law most people associate with taking down the mafia, not with presidents. It exists to dismantle criminal enterprises, not to deal with one-off violations or messy political disputes. And yet, for the first time in American history, that framework is now being applied to someone who once held the highest office in the country. That alone tells you this isn't business as usual. Almost immediately after the indictment became public, Elon Musk broke his silence.
Noticia de última hora, y es que Guatemala traicionaría a México. Información de última hora. También, Estados Unidos cancela visas a 3 países de América Latina, países que estarían participando en el Mundial 2026 y que tendrían partidos en Estados Unidos. Por otro lado, activa un plan de emergencia y se confirma que Guatemala cedió para poner una base militar y así poder tener injerencia en la zona sur, en la frontera sur entre México y Guatemala. Vámonos con todo.
Is the day when Donald Trump finally said something that, now that he's actually said it, kind of seems inevitable. It is an historic turn for Donald Trump. It is a brand new use of the word stupid by Donald Trump. And it is the most important Trump usage of the word stupid ever. Because today, for the first time, Donald Trump called Republicans stupid. And he means millions of them. That was his word for Republicans who have been religiously devoted to him, Republicans who think of him as chosen by God. Donald Trump turned on those Republicans today and called them stupid and said the thing that no smart politician has ever said before. Ever. Donald Trump said, I don't want their support anymore.
All right. Today, amid just the blitz of headlines on what has been a gigantic news day following a gigantic news week, you might not have noticed the news today. You might not have seen the headline today that today a federal court blocked the Trump administration from cutting energy funding just for blue states. This is billions of dollars Congress appropriated for clean energy projects of various kinds all over the country. Trump administration decided, and they admitted this, they decided that just in blue states, just in states that didn't vote for Trump, they would cut all of that funding. They'd leave the funding in place in states that voted for Trump. They would cut it in states that didn't vote for Trump. A federal court today ruled that that is illegal and stopped the Trump administration from doing that.